Hey, you guys, this is part 2 of Messy Success with Todd Sharp. We left off with Todd sharing how he was fired from the University of Louisville and the aftermath that he was facing. I hope listeners will learn something from this raw and very personal experience shared on Messy Success. Thanks again for tuning in.
So, again, anybody that, the fall was so public, as well as, the rise in the beginning. There's so many people that, again, as we kind of iterated in the beginning, that have their opinions without actually knowing who you are as a person. So, you obviously referenced jumping into addiction. As far as when you and I had brunch the other day, I talked about this. I said I personally don't I don't understand it. I am certain, what was we were talking about? I said I am sure the pull at you for that, or any person that's addicted to anything, I have to imagine it is so great that, like, not great isn't a good thing, but like it's just such a strong pull. Like, can you speak to that at all? And kind of like what the daily is for somebody who has gone through the life experience that you have?
Well, let me precursor this by saying that, many of the individuals that I meet and work with today have been battling addiction their entire life. Often it's a family disease or family situational circumstances where it's just, a continued trail of disaster. For me, it was, a 2-year window of my life. And I would think that my battle, I feel confident, is a much easier battle in terms of my addiction than many people deal with. And for that, I'm grateful. But I think when you're in pain at such a level, when you don't like yourself or love yourself, and then the things that were the bright spots in your life have been extinguished, and then you find something, whether intentional or accidental. My first use was I absolutely did not know what I was using.
That's my biggest fear as a mother.
Yep, I did not know, and I was highly encouraged. And I will say, a couple people came and got me out of the house. At this point, I had been laying in my house crying and not leaving. And,
From the losing of the job, correct?
Just
after that?
Well, it was really before then.
Okay.
That all of, that so many other things had, I knew the walls were caving in, and I had been, I went through an extensive investigation on the Floyd Central side that was very exhaustive. I think they interviewed, like 90 people. By the way, every single allegation was proven to be untrue.
Well, you didn't lose your job.
Oh, every single one. But, when you go through something like that, when the one area in your life that you feel confident and proud of on every level is being questioned and you're being attacked, and then when it coming from a source of someone that you thought loved you and was a friend that started it, the layers of betrayal, and it just affected me in a depression's not the word. Had I not been a father, I didn't even want to live. I just knew, with the fact of having the TV show and that little bit of notoriety that it would keep getting wings. And, I went someplace with a couple of people I trusted, without getting too detailed. Their life from the outside looking in, you would think pretty successful, and it would probably be shocking.
Yeah.
It would definitely be shocking, but when you immediately put something into your body that for the first time in months, you don't want to die. For the first time in months,
Wow.
You felt normal. And it wasn't until a couple days later that I was told the truth about what that substance was. And I was so horrified. I was horrified. I couldn't believe it. I thought it had to be, that can't be true. And, I actually blocked the individuals, from my phone, and don't ever speak to me again. And within 2 weeks, where can I get more?
Wow.
And,
So it reminds me, and I don't, again, we don't really have so much of a plan here, but have you happened to see the Dope Sick documentary, or it's not a documentary. The mini series, I guess, is what you would call it, on Hulu.
I have not watched it. I have people, probably a dozen people, mention it to me daily. I've watched many other documentaries and shows on the topic. I have not seen that particular one, only because I'm on that 16, 18-hour day life right now. So
I will say, and I have dealt with addiction very, very close in my family. Like my cousin, who was the sister I never had, I watched her almost lose her life. And it was, but the show, what you just said and what has happened to you, that's kind of, it shows that regular people, obviously it has a different, it's about the, you know, the Oxycontin and being misprescribed and, you know, the big pharma knowing that it's addictive and ruining people's lives. And, but it happened, that's exactly how it happened. And it's real life. It happens to people. And again, when I say it's one of my worst fears as a mother is I have kids who are now teenagers. You never know what they're going to be given. You know, they think they're smoking pot and it's laced with something else. And then the next thing you know, they're going down a path you never would have dreamed they'd be on. That's my fear. And I feel like that's, you know, obviously you're not a young person, but it goes to show it can happen to anyone. Okay, you're young. I'm sorry. You're young. You're young. But
well, you should be scared to death. I mean, especially in my life today, what I, see up close and personal every day. People have an image in their mind of who an addict is, and it's completely false. It's everywhere, and it's unbelievably, we're talking about it more in society. Yeah. It's more front, mainstream. I heard somebody say, recovery and addicts are so popular now. And I'm thinking, well, popular is probably a bad word, but it's definitely at the forefront. People are talking about it. More people are living their story of active addiction and their story of recovery out loud, which is a good thing. But, the truth is, the amount of overdose deaths that I've had 17 funerals this year of people that I was, directly involved with, working with on some level. It's just, I say that's the real pandemic. I thought people wanted to kill me, and I was manic. I wasn't sleeping. I weighed about 70 pounds less than I do right now. I accidentally shot myself with a 9mm gun in the Marriott in downtown Louisville. It was an accident, but an accident that a person that wasn't high would not have. I mean, I'm not a person. Why would I have a Glock in my pocket, in the front of my jean pocket? I was in such a level of psychosis that I believed that my life was in jeopardy. And, I nearly died from that incident. By the grace of God, no one was hurt other than me. I kept making things even worse for myself because of the location that happened, and just a unfortunate, kind of mind-blowing coincidental time that it happened. So many things were said about that were completely untrue. I made a Facebook Live running scared of police that weren't even chasing me at the time, saying that people were trying to kill me, begging for help.
Is that when you crashed? Is that a separate instance? Didn't you crash did you wreck the car or?
They say it was wreck the car. When I pulled over,
the same instance.
I scraped up against like a cable, I mean, I've heard that I ran the car into other cars, and there's no truth to that. But yeah, police were trying to pull me over, and I thoroughly believed they were trying to kill me. So I wasn't that I was trying to outrun them. I was just trying to get closer to the police station, and get out there. But, I not even trusting my closest inner circle, thinking at one point even that my sons, were out to get me, not because they hated me. I thought that I think internally I thought that I would be better off and everyone in my life would be better off if I were dead. So in my mind, I would have these delusional thoughts that people were going to help make that possible for me. And while I thought I welcomed that, I guess that instinct to live was there as well. Just if you can imagine, something that tears you up emotionally and you just have that gut wrenching cry, that was me 20 hours a day. I couldn't sleep, yet I graduated from, trying a substance one time to at the end, I was an IV drug user multiple times a day. Lost complete touch with reality, and I absolutely saw zero way out.
Yet somehow you got out.
Thankful is just it doesn't begin to, grateful doesn't begin to touch it. I'm so thankful and so grateful, and at times in disbelief of my life today compared to what it was. And, I have hope. Life is not perfect today. And I think fundamentally it's the main ingredient we need as humans is hope, and I have hope that tomorrow can be better than today. And I'm so grateful and blessed with sons that love me unconditionally and support me. And my, I always say that cliche, my circle got so small, it's a period, but that core group of just a couple of people. And again, there are many people that love me and show support outwardly, in the middle of everything at its worst. You talked about Alexis and Jim supporting and loving me through the good times and the bad. I have heard so little negative. I mean, the overall outpouring has been positive. And as far as my former athletes, I don't know that any of them have ever had a negative word to say. And I'm very grateful for that, because there's plenty negative that could be said.
Well, I think that there are very few people that I know that have not been affected by addiction in one way or another. Where obviously I've never experienced it myself, but I've witnessed it. And I think that, I would go as far as to say, if you have not witnessed someone that you know or love or have associated with, you're going to. It's something that so many people can relate to, and that could be why, I don't even know if this is, people still support you, because I think, again, it could happen to anyone. That particular, now put all of the accusations aside, and if you did or did not do what you were accused of doing, even if you had, no one's perfect. And I think that when you step back, most people understand that and are very forgiving and know your heart. And that's one thing that, again, I keep bringing her up, but Alexis, one of the things that she said, you have always had a heart for people and encouraging others. What encourages you the most today? And you know what I mean? I think that people that is probably why you say you've heard more positive than negative, because of that. Even not knowing you, I've experienced it within my family. And thankfully, my cousin came out ahead. She got her kids back. She got her life back. She graduated. She has a good job. So proud of her. But I could have lost her. It could happen to anybody.
And the battle that she fought to get where she is today, someone that's not went through that could never understand. People think they understand. It's, when they say it's the battle for your life and of your life, that's so true. I think one thing that, I know this, it sounds unbelievable, but it's absolutely the truth. The version of myself, well, it's not a version, me today is the first Todd Sharp I have ever liked.
Wow.
It's the first to, take away the fancy home, elite neighborhood, and championship titles and accolades and red carpet rolled out for me anywhere I go in town, and take all that and take today. Life is much more simple. I work very hard today, and I work probably a little too much, but if it's odd to say, I feel like that everything that has transpired, it makes my life make sense now. Today I get to work, I'm coaching today. It's a different kind of coaching.
Yeah.
I think it's nothing against the coaching that I was blessed to do for so many years, and will forever be proud of all my kids and what we did. But this is more important coaching. And I'm blessed, everything, my experiences with Floyd Central and Louisville and working with other teams, it helps me every day in the work that I do today. But I think a lot of the acceptance that I feel and the love and support I feel is because I'm pretty, transparent, and I'm pretty vulnerable with who I am and my mistakes. And I don't see, not only does it help other people for me to lay it bare and be raw with it, it helps me. And it reminds me, the human state is fragile.
Yeah.
And I'm reminded every day of what I will not, and what I, by the grace of God, never go back to.
So specific to like what you do today, I believe it's very important to tell, if you can, who do you work for now? What exactly do you do on a daily basis? What is it that you do today for your, quote, coaching that you just referenced?
Today I work for Addiction Recovery Care, more popularly known throughout the state of Kentucky. Well, really, we're known all over the United States now as ARC, for Addiction Recovery Care. I'm based out of Louisa, Kentucky. And I want to say when I started with them, they had taken over the St. Catherine College campus in Springfield. And it's 52 acres, which we refer to it as 52 acres of hope, because that's exactly what it is. That facility today has over 500 clients. It's a residential treatment facility, drug addiction, alcoholism. We're dual diagnosis, so we also treat mental health, as it relates to addiction and alcoholism. And, that place will always be, that was 12-hour days, every day of the week for the most part. And, I would take that, it's an hour out of town. So, that drive, I had been doing it for months before I realized I did not turn on a radio driving to work or home. So I would spend over 2 hours a day, just thinking and not meditating to the point of running the car off the road. But, that place, it taught me a lot about myself, and, and gave me a brotherhood and a sisterhood of people that had, one thing about Addiction Recovery Care is many of the employees in this huge company are in recovery. Many of the current employees were actually clients and went through treatment there at one point. And, the whole premise of addicts helping other addicts is huge. It's hard to share on something, in our world, the spirit world. I mean, how much could we learn from someone that wasn't part of that,
Right.
And so that's who I work for today. Been promoted with them a few times. I'm actually the one of the community liaisons for Louisville. That said, I have 7 counties that I'm responsible for, but really end up working all over the state. And that I wear many hats, do a lot of. One thing that's been important to us, my boss is Wayne Sarton. I'm our vice president for engagement in the company, and I'm very blessed. He just happens to be a Louisville guy in the Highlands, and he has a servant's heart. And anything that we come up with as a team, we've been doing a lot of boots on the ground outreach work. Louisville has, by most estimates, over 11,000 individuals living homeless. And the truth is the vast majority of those are battling addiction. because nothing will take everything away from you quicker than addiction. So I also, get the opportunity. We have clients that come in with us that are facing some pretty serious drug charges, sometimes other charges, nonviolent charges, but lots of charges that could, keep them in prison. And, I'm able to stand before judges and talk about the progress and what has been accomplished while in treatment. I get the opportunity to play a small role in changing lives. And, one of the things we say as a company is one life. The work we do is heavy.
Yeah.
And at times, can be heartbreaking, but the success is, we do recover. And today I'm living proof of that.
I hope this is okay to ask, but as you're talking, I'm thinking about it, and I'm curious, what was that defining moment for you battling addiction? What got you to the point where you chose to give it up and to, was it because so many people attempt and then relapse, and it's a minute by minute challenge. What was that, you know what I mean? Where did you, because I firmly believe, at least in my experience, those of you and those of us who have experienced it and tried, you can try and try and try to fix someone, and you can give it your all and try to make it better, but you can't. That person has to get to that point themselves, and they have to want it bad enough to crawl out of it. When did that happen for you? What did that look like? Where did you go? Who did?
Well, and Tracy, you're so right. People have family or loved ones that are in addiction, and they want to just shake it out of them. And why don't you see what this is doing? And I'm going to get you treatment. And until the individual decides for themselves, and for most people, that is a complete rock bottom. For me, the number one, there were so many bad things that were happening, that any one of them could or should have been enough. But for me, ultimately, as a dad, my sons, they've been incredible to me. Our relationships today are better than they have ever been long before the addiction. I feel closer to my sons now than I did, 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But, when they weren't texting me back anymore, when they didn't know what to do to help me anymore.
Yeah.
When, I wanted to see my grandchildren, it was just, to me, I knew that, the overdose deaths, the vast majority are heroin and fentanyl, but for me, that was not my drugs of choice, but for me, I knew that continuing to mask the pain that way and to use would definitely quickly lead to my death, either at my own hands or, accidental. And, a lot of bad things had to happen for me to get to that point. And, and even from the time I decided no more, there were a couple of relapses.
Yeah.
There's no exact science to it. There's some people that get clean and stay clean the first time, and there's some people that relapse, 20, 30 times is not unheard of. So I found a Narcotics Anonymous meeting. The options on the plate that day were suicide or nothing else. And I guess evidently, I now know I'm not strong enough to do that, I guess, or weak enough to do that. And I Googled Narcotics Anonymous meetings near me, and not even knowing, I knew there was Alcoholics Anonymous. And within 30 minutes, I was walking into my first one. I heard the readings. I thought, I was in enough psychosis where I thought I was being followed, and the readings were made just for me because that's how much I could relate. And, it's a process, learning to trust yourself. When you're coming out of addiction, nightmares is a huge thing. Once you finally can sleep again, you have vivid nightmares. I can't tell you, as recently as even a couple of months ago, sometimes I still have them. I'll wake up in a complete panic, cold sweat, thinking these things have happened that are just part of a nightmare. it's a everyday battle. And, I try to surround myself. My core group of friends have just been unbelievable. My ex-wife and her husband, they're family. We really have, I'm very blessed that we can celebrate our kids and grandkids together. And for me, going to the gym, going to Grit every day, and of course it doesn't hurt that my best friend's the owner there and trainer, but that it's a mental thing for me. I have to every day focus on the positive and try to focus on the good that I can do, and to try to remember I'm still here for a reason.
Amen to that.
Absolutely.
I would like to ask, through all of that, and even this question doesn't even have to relate to anything specific. It could, but what is your biggest regret, if any?
You hear all these quotes about having no regrets.
Or
right,
or
and I was
regrets.
wondering,
Regrets.
No regrets.
I was wondering if you would say that. Like,
I can't say that I have no regret. I regret anything that caused anyone else pain. And there have been several painful, dark pieces of this that we've not, touched on today. Anything that causes pain for someone else, whether it's embarrassment or worry of, my friends and family or my former athletes, to let them down in any way. I just, my biggest regret, I think, is not trying to be true to myself. Many years ago, I've been running from myself my entire life without realizing it. The addiction was there before it was the drug. It manifests itself. I was compulsive as a coach. I was, I think I'm a good person and I have a good heart, but I'm a very imperfect person. I think I used to be filled with lots of judgmental ideologies most of my life. I can't say I regret my addiction within itself, because I would not be who I am today without that.
Got it.
If that makes any sense.
Absolutely makes sense.
I would not trade who I am today for any other Todd in my past.
And if it took the addiction to get you there, then you would.
Absolutely.
Where do you see yourself in 10 years? This is always a hard question for me. So I wonder.
Super old. I tell you, I can't believe, I used to hear this from like my grandmother, Sarah, she would say, Todd, getting old's terrible. Inside, I'm still this young woman. And then I see a mirror, I just, in my mind, like my thought processes in terms of, how I see myself is very different than the reality. I'm getting older. I'm fighting it for all it's worth. I'm not in the worst shape, early 50s guy out there, but I can't believe it. Time flies, and as you get older, it continues to fly. I'm working with some teams again. Got a couple of flights booked out. I'm working with
dance teams.
Dance, yep. I'm working with some teams. Yeah, I got to go in and work with one of my former national champions at Floyd, who has become a national champion at Cincinnati, and she's an assistant coach at DuPont Manual High School. They're phenomenal. So her and the head coach, Christy, brought me in to work with them a couple weeks ago, and then I'm flying and working with some teams in Wisconsin coming up. I'm working with the college program in Texas coming up, and as my schedule permits, I'm really busy doing I call it my job, but working as a liaison for ARC it's definitely more than a job,
Yeah.
But I did become nationally certified as an interventionist, and I haven't really put that out there too much yet, because I'm ready to go in terms of I'm certified and ready to go, but I have some great mentorship right now that I'm working with Patrick Coleman with Coleman Interventions. He's phenomenal. And, I have a brotherhood too that I've met in recovery that have walked similar paths, similar yet totally different, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most of them didn't have like a Lifetime show and some of the other stuff that went on. But I really want to continue to work with the at-risk community. I want to try to help offering hope to people that have no hope. And, we talked about success at the beginning. The success looks like many things. And man, I sound so cliche. I sound like a lot of people in recovery, but to me, success means being happy.
Did I not say that in episode 1?
You
And
did.
success is not, because let me tell you, I used to have a lot more stuff
Yeah.
than I have right now. And, making money is important, right? I mean, money's what's required,
Yeah.
to,
Sure.
and hopefully I'd like to make more of that as I progress. But, to me, it's feeling contentment here,
Yeah.
Right.
and so I want to continue to be happy and to help make other people happy. And, we talked about redemption, the redemption for myself. If I don't feel redeemed myself, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks about me.
So true.
So, I want to continue working in this. There's so many things, there's so many people struggling in this area, and there's so many people that need help, and there's ways to help. And I've got a lot of ideas and working on a few projects right now that hopefully will be ready to roll and reveal soon.
Nice.
So I know when we asked you to come and be on this podcast, in my mind, this next question I'm going to ask you was never in the forefront. And I know you didn't ask for this either, but for people out there listening that could be struggling with addiction of any kind, and just don't know where to go, don't know who to reach out to. And because I think you mentioned are they nationwide?
Well, we're state of Kentucky now. We're starting to expand into other states.
So for the folks in Kentucky, or, that who could they call? Where could they go? Like what
Right.
that don't know what that next step may be? Where can they go to get help?
Well, here's the great thing about the recovery world. Even outside of ARC, I had someone reach out to me today, and has a friend in Ohio that needs help. And, based on insurance or lack of insurance, different things, I put one message out to my recovery family and immediately had some great options. So, if I cannot personally help someone in terms of like inpatient treatment because of, they're out of state or whatever, I can definitely access resources that can. So my work cell phone number that I have always is 502-475-1234. People can reach out to me on social media. If somebody would have told me I would have social media again ever, it's kind of hard to hide from the world if you're on social media, but I am a little bit of an attention whore, but maybe, I don't know. I mean, maybe we,
Jim said that about you. It's like I'm just
takes one to know one.
I
No.
did not.
But, social media, I have numerous people reach out to me that way through Messenger or Facebook.
I was one of those people
So
yesterday.
sure enough, not for you.
Not for me.
Yeah, we'll lay that out.
For a dear friend.
That's the
Yes.
next episode. But there's so many resources out there. There's a world full of people that are waiting to help. And so yeah, anytime, reach out to me anytime. Again, social media is a great way, or they're my work cell phone number. I think my personal cell phone number is on my Facebook page, so that's fine too. So any time of day or night, we can point you in the right direction at least.
Is it time to twerk? Can we twerk now?
It might be, but before we do that, there's just, Todd, I've obviously known you since I came to Louisville in 2004. So we're going on 15 years that I've known you. And, obviously we haven't, there's times I moved away and there's times we've kept closer in touch than others. But, from meeting you in 2004, I mean, you and Lisa came to my wedding, and mine and Jessica's wedding. You were there, and you helped me, organize the proposal on the football field. And you
Epic.
That was fun. You took me to a Final Four in 2005. You took me to multiple bowl games, and then you allowed me to come in and help coach. You and James as well helped me allow me to come in and coach. And obviously I moved away and did some other things in my career, and I've come back. But just seeing everything full circle, I know you didn't ask for this, but I can't tell you how proud I am of you and who you are today. And I know you kind of said this and you hit on this a little bit ago, but who you are today, in my opinion, is the most successful version of you I've ever seen. And I don't say that just to puff your head up or anything like that, but having seen the Facebook Live, reading the tabloids, seeing all the things, knowing where you were, at least from the outside looking in, to knowing where you are now, it, again, not to put a bow on this, it's your world, Bo, but the messy success that you are is you know, it's so real and it's so raw, but it's also so great. And I'm just glad. I'm glad you're here. I know we talked about a little bit ago how you had mentioned, you know, in your mind, when you were at rock bottom, you were thinking in two different directions. I am certainly glad that you weren't able to go down that other path, because I'm certainly glad that you're here, because I know that all the people that you're affecting, well, I don't know them, but I can only imagine all the people that you're positively affecting today. And that's big. I mean, it's
bigger than any national championship, in my opinion.
Yeah. So
thank you, Jim. I love you. Always
love
have.
you too, buddy.
Always have. Well, thank you. I'm so grateful to be here, but I'm grateful to be alive, and I'll never take that for granted again. That's for sure.
Well, I'm honestly, again, as you all know, I'm not a planner. The ending was supposed to go a little bit different, but that's okay. So I just want to thank you, Todd, so much for coming. And I know you mentioned you are an open book, and I know that you were okay talking about so many things, but I'm thankful for you coming here. I hope that if someone listens truly and can relate to this in any way, or you don't know where to go at this point, or you need help and you're willing to put in the work and you just need a nudge, or even a simple Google search did it for Todd. So just take the step, whether it's calling him, messaging him, Google search in your community, whether you're in our community or not. People love you. Do it. I know it's a struggle, but 1 minute at a time, not even one day, 1 minute at a time. So.
Thank you both. Appreciate it.
Go ahead, radio voice. Do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up today's episode of Messy Success with Tracy French and friends. I'm Jim, one of the friends, along with Todd, one of my friends. Thank you so much for listening today, and we'll catch you next time on Messy Success with Tracy French and friends.